Before we get into the story, I need you to do me a quick favor. Please hit that like button and support my channel. I promise, it gets better. Success wasn't handed to me. I came from nothing. Grew up in a 2-bedroom house with 5 people, hand-me-down shoes, and secondhand dreams. I worked 2 jobs through college, took night classes, and taught myself everything I could about running a business. By 32, I had built multiple companies from the ground up, brick by brick. I didn't flaunt it. No flashy cars, no luxury watches. I reinvested every dollar into my businesses and my family. That's where my heart was. My wife and I met in high school. She wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my soulmate, the girl who helped me file LLC paperwork when we had no clue what we were doing, the one who pulled all-nighters with me before, even while pregnant with our first child. She supported me when we barely had anything, and I swore I'd give her the world. We got married straight out of college. 3 kids followed, each one a miracle. I thought we were living the American dream. She stayed home with the kids, and I took on the burden of being the provider, the builder, the backbone. Then there was Kevin. Kevin was like a brother. We met through a business networking group when we were just starting out. He was sharp, hungry, loyal, or so I thought. We'd been through bankruptcies, business pivots, late-night emergency meetings. He'd been there for the highest highs and lowest lows. We became more than just partners. We were family. Our kids had sleepovers together. Our wives were close. We celebrated holidays under the same roof. We built a company together that was on track to hit 7 figures annually. It was a grind, but it was worth it. At least, that's what I thought. From the outside, we looked bulletproof. The power couple with 3 beautiful kids, a thriving company, and lifelong friends. But beneath the surface, I was burning out. Working 60-hour weeks, constantly traveling, missing soccer games and ballet recitals while I chased the next big contract. My wife said she understood. She said she was proud of me. And Kevin? I didn't know it then, but the people I trusted the most were the ones already sharpening the knives behind my back. It started with little things, missed calls, odd silences, the way her phone never left her hand anymore, even when she went to the bathroom. Once I joked, "You texting the president or what?" She laughed it off, but her fingers tightened around that phone like it was a lifeline. I chalked it up to stress. Our newest venture, an ambitious project involving all 3 of us, me, my wife, and Kevin. We'd been sucking up time, money, and energy like a black hole. We were spread thin, constantly juggling meetings, deadlines, and bills. Still, I noticed how often they were together. Kevin had always leaned on me for business advice, but now he was leaning on her for emotional support. At first, I didn't question it. Kevin's marriage had been circling the drain for a while. His wife was argumentative, cold, jealous. He needed someone to talk to. And my wife, she's always had a big heart. She listens, she comforts, she cares. But then I started noticing things that didn't add up. Texts she quickly swiped away. Clothes I hadn't seen before. Her coming home with that look, flushed, distracted, detached, like she had just come back from another world and was still half living there. One night, I told her I was overwhelmed. I feel like I'm failing at everything. She didn't hug me. She didn't say, "We'll figure it out." She said, "You need a night out with your friends, blow off some steam." That hurt more than I admitted, so I went, just to clear my head. I drove 2 hours to see my parents in Alabama. She said she'd go on a spa weekend with her girlfriends. We both needed the break, right? But that Monday night, when we returned home, something was off. She didn't greet me with a hug, didn't ask about my parents, didn't even look me in the eye. When I asked how the spa was, she gave some vague answer about it being relaxing but busy. Busy? She was gone for 48 hours with no photos, no girlfriends tagging her, no receipts, and when I tried to connect that night, she brushed me off, said she was tired, said she had work in the morning. She barely even touched her dinner. Then came Winston. A friend I hadn't seen in months invited me out for coffee. We sat down, and I'll never forget the look on his face. He wasn't smiling. "Look," he said, I'm not trying to stir anything up, but I think something's going on between Kevin and your wife. I laughed. Actually laughed. Told him he was crazy. Told him we were family. Kevin was my brother, but deep inside, a chill slid down my spine, because I already knew Winston wasn't wrong. That night, after talking to Winston, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, questioning everything. Was I just being paranoid? Overworked? Delusional? But when your gut screams and your heart pounds, you know something's not right. I watched her sleep, peacefully, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't torn my insides apart without even touching me. At 3:42 a.m., her phone buzzed softly under the covers. I held my breath as she shifted and lifted the phone to her face, her screen lighting up, her expression smiling. That was all I needed. I reached out, grabbed the phone from her hand before she could lock it. She lunged up in a panic, whisper screaming, "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because right there, wide open, were the messages from Kevin. The truth in digital ink. Long texts filled with, "I miss you," "Last night was amazing," and even worse, the photos. She chased me into the hallway pleading, trying to snatch the phone back, sobbing. She swore it was a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen. She claimed it just started a few weeks ago, as if that made it better, but she was lying. I knew it. The texts didn't read like some new fling. They read like two people who had already crossed the line and were sprinting into hell together with their hands locked. And Kevin, the man I built my empire with, my business partner, my friend, I couldn't breathe. I locked myself in the guest room that night, not knowing whether to scream, cry, or throw up. I barely slept, the pillow soaked with betrayal. The next morning, I drove straight to Kevin's. Didn't call, didn't knock. He opened the door in his robe like he'd been expecting me. Maybe he was. Maybe his cowardice told him this was inevitable. Before he could say a word, I hit him. Hard. Years of partnership, laughter, late-night strategy sessions, all gone. I hit him again. I needed to get my anger out. "I trusted you," I shouted. "You were my brother." He didn't fight back, just sat there with blood on his lip, whispering, "I didn't mean for it to happen." Didn't mean to sleep with my wife? Didn't mean to destroy two families? He told me they'd been seeing each other for months, that they tried to stop, that it was complicated, that she was unhappy. I walked out before I did something worse. When I got home, she looked at me with those red, tired eyes and said she needed clarity. She dropped the kids with the sitter and spent the entire day with Kevin. I knew it. I didn't ask. I couldn't. That night, I stared at our wedding photo in the hallway. I pulled it down. The frame cracked when it hit the floor. Just like us. After that night, nothing felt real anymore. My wife, no. The stranger I once called my wife had made her choice. And it wasn't me. It wasn't our kids. It was Kevin, my business partner, my brother in arms. I stopped trying to understand. There was no logic left, only damage control. She started sleeping in the guest room. Our roles were reversed. She moved in there with her phone, her laptop, and a pile of clothes and makeup that spilled onto the floor like garbage. I didn't tell her to move. She just knew. She kept saying, "Let's just focus on the kids. We're both hurting." Hurting? She was hurting? No. I was beyond hurting. Within a week, she told me she wanted 50-50 custody and to keep things amicable, that we should get ahead of the divorce. I asked her when she was moving out. Her response? When Kevin's situation is more stable. She was waiting for Kevin, who, by the way, was still married and now in couples counseling with his wife. The man who told me he loved her, but was also too scared to leave his own marriage, because it would cost him too much. Let that sink in. My wife threw away our marriage for a man who wouldn't even leave his own. I started noticing changes at work. People whispered when I walked in. Some avoided eye contact. I was the last to know about projects, decisions, meetings. Kevin and my wife had quietly shifted authority, passing tasks to managers, pretending like they were stepping back for personal reasons. But the truth was obvious. They were playing house on my dime, using the company we built as a cover for their affair. Then came the worst part. They attended a business conference out of town together, an overnight stay. I told her not to go. Not just for me, for our kids. She didn't listen. She packed a small bag and left without looking back. While she was gone, our 6-year-old asked me why Mommy always works with Uncle Kevin. He said he saw them hugging when I wasn't around. I smiled through tears and told him Mommy just has a lot on her plate. But the moment he left the room, I broke down. At work, I kept up appearances, but inside, I was planning, plotting, because betrayal like this doesn't just sting, it reshapes you, makes you cold, focused. I contacted an old investor, someone I trusted from years ago, and we talked numbers, strategy, buyout potential. If they wanted to run around behind my back, let's see how far they'd get when the rug was ripped out from under them. Because I had one advantage they'd both underestimated. I built this empire, and I was about to watch them beg for crumbs from the kingdom they tried to steal. The very next morning, I met with the investor. We hadn't spoken in nearly 5 years, but he remembered me well. I gave him the full download. Our businesses, the debt, the numbers, the chaos. He was intrigued, said he'd been looking for something with infrastructure, staff, and potential. He didn't flinch at the baggage. I don't care about the drama, he said. If you can clean house, I'll make the deal. Those words hit like a godsend, because that's exactly what I planned to do. Clean house. The next few days were chess. Every move had a purpose. I began consolidating responsibilities, pulling in loyal managers, carefully sidestepping my wife and Kevin at work. I wasn't just prepping the company for sale, I was removing them from any position that mattered. Quietly, legally, swiftly, I changed server passwords, reassigned account access, replaced department heads with loyal staff, all under the guise of structural realignment. Meanwhile, I had to keep my rage in check until the breaking point. It was a Friday night. I came home early from work. My wife was supposed to be with the kids, but when I walked in, silence. The babysitter was there. She told me my wife had left 2 hours ago, said it was a last-minute business thing. I didn't even call. I knew where she was. So I drove. Kevin had recently moved into a short-term rental while pretending to separate from his wife. I parked a block away, my blood boiling as I watched from down the street. And sure enough, about 20 minutes later, my wife pulled up in our family SUV. She walked up to his front door, looked around like a teenager sneaking out, and knocked. Twice. He opened the door and pulled her in with a kiss. Just like that. Like I never existed. Something inside me snapped. I stormed up to the house and kicked the damn door open. They were still in the entryway when I barged inside. Kevin looked like he'd seen a ghost. My wife froze. My eyes burned with fury as I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the wall. You steal my business, fine. You steal my wife? You better be ready to lose your teeth. He tried to talk. I didn't let him. I hit him once, a clean punch. A sharp right to the jaw that crumpled him to the ground. My wife screamed. Stop it! What are you doing? What I should have done months ago, I growled. You two want to play house? You'll be broke and homeless within a month. I turned to her. You told me we were done, so be done. Don't come back to my house. You've made your bed. Now, sleep in it. She tried to cry, to reach for me. I stepped back and said, Don't touch me, ever again. I walked out without another word, and by the next morning, the investor had finalized the paperwork. I sold the company out from under both of them, after debts, taxes, redistribution, and other payouts to staff. They walked away with less than $10,000 each, not even enough to cover their next few months of rent and gas. I kept 51% ownership through a new holding company. The staff backed me. My name stayed on the building. My name stayed in the community. And theirs vanished. I filed for divorce the same day. Had her serve at Kevin's apartment. Petty? Maybe, but every man has his limits. She didn't even try to deny it. Just looked down, ashamed, humiliated, alone. She asked where she should go. I told her, wherever Kevin's wife isn't, because rumor is he's trying to fix things with her now. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the story so far, please hit that like button and support me in taking this channel to the next level. In the days that followed, silence filled the house like a funeral home. My wife was gone. She hadn't even packed properly. Just a few duffel bags, her laptop, some toiletries. She left her wedding ring on the bathroom sink like it was some old souvenir she didn't want to carry anymore. The kids didn't understand. They asked when Mommy would be back. I told them she was taking some time to think about things. I couldn't stomach the truth. Not yet. Kevin didn't return to the business. Not that he could. He was out. Blacklisted. Every key client we'd built relationships with for years, they stuck with me. The community rallied around me. Turns out people respect loyalty more than charisma, and when word got around about the affair, oh, it spread like wildfire. Not because I announced it, because staff already knew. Kevin's flirtations weren't as discreet as he thought. My wife's long coffee breaks, their strategy sessions that always ended at hotels, it had all been happening in plain sight. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional, and in our world, reputation is everything. Kevin's wife caught wind of everything through mutual friends. I didn't have to say a word. She filed for divorce for real this time, took the kids, took the house, took most of what little cash he had left after my deal went through, and Kevin, the man who thought he could steal my wife and share my company, he ended up sleeping in a friend's garage begging people on LinkedIn to help him start over. Meanwhile, my wife, she tried to keep her head above water, but without the business, without Kevin's support, without her title, she became just another woman who blew up her life for a fantasy. She got a part-time job at a local accounting firm, tried to keep her social image up, but people whispered. Former friends ghosted her. Even her own family stopped inviting her to their homes. She texted me one night. I don't know what I was thinking. Everything is falling apart. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied with one sentence. You should have thought about that before you set fire to our life. No more contact, no more explaining, no more comforting the woman who chose destruction over devotion. I focused on the kids, on rebuilding, on therapy. I found peace in the structure, in knowing that I wasn't the broken one, that I had given everything, time, love, money, loyalty, and got betrayal in return. And now they get to feel the consequences. Just when I thought their spiral couldn't get any worse, it did. 3 weeks after the business sale finalized, I got a call from a former vendor who used to work with our company. He sounded furious. George, you might want to look into what your ex-partner's been doing with your old vendor accounts. Apparently, Kevin had been using my name and the company's expired credit lines to try and start a new venture. He was pitching a rebranding agency that offered marketing and logistics, using leftover business materials, contacts, and past proposals that I had created. He forged my signature on 2 supplier documents. Game over. I gathered the evidence, got my lawyer involved, and made one call to the state's commercial fraud unit. By the end of that week, Kevin was served a court summons, charges pending, fines incoming. Any chance of rebuilding his business credibility? Destroyed. But karma didn't stop there. One morning, while dropping the kids off at school, a friend pulled me aside. Hey, have you seen the forums? She showed me a local community gossip thread on Facebook. Screenshots, long posts, pictures. Someone had anonymously posted a full exposé. Kevin and my wife, their affair, the lies, the business collapse. Someone even uploaded old security footage of them sneaking out the office together after hours, grainy but unmistakable. People recognized them immediately. Comments exploded. Wait, I knew something shady was going on. Isn't that the guy who cheated on his wife while pretending to be a mentor? She destroyed her whole family for him? Gross. My wife called me later that night sobbing, "They're tearing me apart online," she said, barely able to breathe through the tears. "Even the school moms aren't talking to me." I was cold. "You made your choice. I told you this wouldn't end well." Kevin tried to distance himself from her after that. His wife had already filed for divorce and blocked him from seeing his kids. He couldn't afford legal representation and was representing himself poorly. My contacts in the legal scene told me he looked like a wreck in court. Bags under his eyes. Lost weight. Couldn't make eye contact. Then came the final blow. I found out through one of my old accountants that my wife had tried to apply for a personal loan using the previous business records, which triggered a fraud alert due to the recent investigation with Kevin. Bank flagged it. Denied her. Froze her account temporarily for review. She called me again, desperate this time. "George, please. I don't have rent this month. I didn't know Kevin was doing all that stuff. I'm not part of it. You were in bed with the man, both. Literally and professionally. You can't separate yourself from this mess now." She begged, cried. Told me the kids were confused. Said she had nowhere to go. I said, "You had a home. You burned it down." And I hung up. She moved into a small apartment outside of town. Just her, a futon, and lots of regrets. Kevin? He disappeared off social media. Last I heard, he was working delivery gigs to make ends meet. Two people who thought they could betray someone who built them up. Now left with nothing but each other, and even that was starting to rot. If you feel that gut instinct telling you something's off, listen to it. Drop a like. Comment. If you believe karma always comes back around. Share this story if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted most. Betrayal hurts, but revenge, when it's silent, cold, and calculated, that's how you take your power back. Subscribe for more stories that'll make your jaw drop.